My name is Isla. I always thought my home was my sanctuary, a place of comfort, quiet, and familiarity. But I was wrong. That belief shattered one night, in the dead of winter, when a knock at the door changed everything. I wasn't expecting anyone. Friends, family, even neighbors rarely visited. And yet, there it was, a slow, deliberate knock, echoing through the house like a warning. At first, I hesitated, thinking it must be a delivery or a mistake. I peeked through the peephole. No one. Just the empty street, snow falling silently, streetlights flickering. My heartbeat quickened, a cold shiver crawling up my spine. I told myself it was nothing, just my imagination playing tricks. But then the knock came again, louder, more insistent, and this time it was accompanied by a low scraping sound at the door. I grabbed a flashlight and a kitchen knife, my instincts screaming at me that something was wrong. The thought of calling the police crossed my mind, but I hesitated, unsure if it was a prank or something far worse. My apartment was on the ground floor, windows exposed to the street, and yet no one was visible outside. Then I noticed it, a shadow flickering just beyond the edge of the porch, as if someone was hiding in plain sight. My pulse hammered in my ears. I whispered to myself, trying to rationalize. Maybe it's a delivery person, maybe it's a neighbor. But deep down, I knew the truth. It wasn't anyone normal. The first break-in attempt was subtle, almost silent. I heard the faint click of the lock being tampered with, a sound I knew well from watching crime shows, but never imagined I'd hear in my own home. Panic surged. I locked every door, every window, turned on all the lights. My phone was in my hand, fingers trembling, ready to dial 911 at the first sign of danger. And then it happened. A window at the back of the house slid open slowly. I froze. There was no forced entry, no shouting, just the soft, calculated movement of someone who knew exactly what they were doing. The living room lights flickered as I turned toward the noise, and for a split second, I saw him, a man, tall, dressed in black, face partially obscured, standing at the threshold like he belonged there. I screamed. He moved with unnerving calm, stepping into the room without hesitation. My knife felt useless in my hand, my legs weak. I backed toward the kitchen, trying to think, trying to find a way out, any way out. But he wasn't fast. He was deliberate, methodical, almost patient. "Isla," he said, his voice low and chilling, yet familiar in some disturbing way. "Don't be afraid. I won't hurt you, not yet." I didn't recognize him, and yet the name he spoke made my stomach churn. How did he know my name? Who was he? Questions raced through my mind, but the answers didn't come. All I knew was that he was inside my home, and I was alone. Over the next hours, a twisted game began. He moved silently through the house, opening drawers, inspecting objects, leaving subtle clues, photographs rearranged, notes written in a messy hand, objects placed in strange positions. It was as if he wanted me to follow, to understand, to discover something he was orchestrating. Every time I tried to confront him, he vanished, leaving only whispers and cold drafts in his wake. Sleep became impossible. Every creak, every groan of the house, every shadow in the corner of my eye became a threat. I installed cameras, alarms, motion sensors, anything to track him. But he was always one step ahead. Messages began appearing on my phone, texts from unknown numbers. I'm closer than you think. You can't hide. I've been here before you even noticed. Days passed in a blur of terror and exhaustion. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't think clearly. Friends noticed my absence, my fear, but I couldn't tell them not the full truth. How could I explain that someone was inside my home, unseen, uncatchable, manipulating my life from the shadows? One night, I awoke to a whisper directly behind my ear. You should have locked the attic. My blood ran cold. The attic door at the end of the hall was closed, always closed. I had never dared enter it alone. Now, I had no choice. I grabbed my flashlight and climbed the narrow stairs, each step creaking beneath my weight. The beam of light fell upon a scene that froze me. The walls were covered with photographs of me, from years ago, some from childhood, some recent, all taken without my knowledge. In the center of the room was a diary, open, pages filled with intimate details about my life, my routines, my fears. He knew everything. My mind spun, trying to understand his motive, his obsession. But before I could process, the door slammed shut behind me. Panic surged, and I turned to find him standing there, smiling, calm, unhurried. I've been here a long time, he said, watching, waiting, preparing. And now you will understand. Every second stretched into an eternity as he explained fragments of a past I never knew, connections to strangers I had trusted, secrets buried in my own family history, all pointing to why he was here, why he had chosen me. The story was horrifying, incomprehensible, yet undeniable. And through it all, I realized the terrifying truth. This wasn't random. He had always been inside my life, just hidden in plain sight, like a ghost tethered to my existence. Escaping became a game of wits, of reading his patterns, of anticipating his moves before he acted. I started setting traps, misleading him, using every resource at my disposal. The struggle escalated, each encounter pushing me to the edge of fear and endurance. My home, once a sanctuary, had become a battlefield, a maze of deception and danger. Weeks later, authorities finally intervened, led by evidence I had painstakingly collected. Yet, even in custody, he remained calm, almost amused. He had vanished from my home, leaving no trace, no confession, only the lingering terror of his presence. And I realized something terrifying. He could return at any time, and he knew every weakness, every fear, every pattern in my life. Now, months later, I live in constant vigilance. Every creak, every knock, every shadow sends my heart racing. Sleep is a luxury I cannot afford. I lock every door, monitor every corner, and yet, the memory of that night, the knowledge that someone could invade my life so thoroughly, leaves a permanent scar. I've learned one truth above all. Safety is an illusion. Familiarity is a lie. And sometimes the most dangerous strangers aren't strangers at all. They're shadows that have always been part of your world, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. Every night, I whisper to the darkness, I am not afraid yet. And every night, I remind myself that vigilance, courage, and instinct are the only weapons I have against a presence that may never truly leave. Because some intruders don't just break into houses, they break into lives. And some shadows are patient enough to wait until you're ready to face them, or until it's too late. Thank you for listening to my story. If it captivated you, please subscribe, like, and share this video. I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Your support means the world.